Hi, my name is James with British Customs. Today we're going to be installing this GP slip-on this 2022 Triumph Street Twin. All right, so first thing we're going to do is loosen the muffler clamp using a 10mm socket. You don't have to take it all the way off. You just need to make it loose enough to pull the muffler off. Using a 12mm socket and a wrench, you want to hold the nut in the back here. And loosen. And this bolt you need to take completely out. All right, the next thing we're going to do is remove the foot peg. There's a little ball bearing in here that helps lock it in place. You don't want to lose that. And you don't want to lose the little spring clip here that we're going to pull off now. Okay, to remove this, you just need a small screwdriver. And you want to get inside that little hole there and pluck it out. So when you remove the foot peg, you just want to be careful not to lose the little ball bearing in there. I'm going to push that pin up. Keep your hand underneath there just in case that bearing falls out. And then pull it all out as one. You got your ball bearing there, and there's a little spring in there, so you just don't want to lose either one of those. Next, we want to remove the foot peg mount and bushing using a 12mm wrench and a 6mm hex head. So while holding up the muffler, you want to pull out this bolt. Then we just turn the muffler a little bit to get this out of the pocket there. And then just slide back. You have to wiggle it a little bit sometimes. That's it. Okay, on the right side of the bike, it's the exact same as the other side, except you have one less point to remove from here. You get your 10mm socket and loosen up that clamp. Okay, so again, we want to remove this and not lose the clip and not lose the ball bearing. And then using our 6mm hex bit, 12mm wrench, give a little twist in and pull it off. On the Street Twin, there's a gasket inside the muffler that meets up with the head pipe right here. You only use that on a stock muffler. You don't need it on British Custom slip-ons. Okay, what we want to do now is we want to install this rubber bushing. Pull out the top hat spacer until you have it in here. Just kind of push it and roll it in. Put your top hat spacer so that it's on the inside towards the bike. And then the other spacer will go this way into the footrest mount. Gonna install your clamp onto the slip-on before you put it on with your screw at the bottom for easy access for the tool. I'm gonna slide this on. Make sure your clamp is in position. we want to put the spacer in here. Use the bolt to hold it in place while we line up the other spacer. Make sure your alignment dowel is lined up with the hole. Get the nut that you took out earlier, put it on the back, your 6mm hex. A 12mm wrench. A 12mm wrench, 6mm hex, 24 Newton meters. Okay, you want to tighten this clamp up. Try and keep it as flush as you can with the end of the slip-on. Make it tight enough that you won't have any leaks here, but not so tight that you break something. All right, now we're going to put the passenger peg in. Make sure your ball and spring are in the location. If the ball is slipping out, just put a little grease on it, and that'll help keep it in place. You want to make sure that this clip is going to hook on like that. If you put it this way, it's not going to work. So you need to go like that. Get the pin that we removed earlier, put it in there. Now, this is a little tight on the GPs, so if you can't get your fingers in there, you may want to use a little needle nose to help hold that clip and get it in there. That's it. I'm going to slide this on over here. Make sure your clamp is in position before you put that on. Push it in. And it may seem like that hole's not going to line up, but the further down you go, the closer it brings it in. Okay, we're going to put the spacer in here. Use the bolt to hold it in place while we line these ones up. Make sure your pin is lined up with the hole so that this fits nice and flush. Get the nut that you removed earlier, put it on the back side. Get your 12mm wrench. This is a 6mm Allen. Snug it up. 12mm wrench, 6mm Allen, 24 Newton meters. Your 5mm hex. Tighten up the clamp. Try and keep it as flush as you can to the edge of the slip-on. Make it tight enough that you won't have any leaks, and not so tight you break anything. So now we'll install the passenger peg. Make sure your ball and spring are located. If you have to, put a little grease to hold that ball in place. Make sure your clip is lined up so it goes over the mounting bracket that way. Slide it in. Get your pin that you removed earlier. Make sure everything's working. Again, on the GPs, it's a little tight in there, so it helps if you have a pair of needle nose to help get that clip in. Okay, the last thing we want to do before we fire this up is to give it a good wipe down with some alcohol. Make sure you get rid of any fingerprints, any grease, because that stuff will burn into it if you fire this up before cleaning it. Do the same on the other side. That's it.